Hello, Hero. I am Jay Inavati, better known as Jen, and this is my second Write-In with Jen. I am a professional content writer and I write fiction for fun, though I do hope to publish my fiction work in both ebook and physical form in the near future. I have written one novel. It is on its second draft and is currently being read by beta readers. And in June, I will pick up edits on that and begin working on either a third draft or finalization of edits before getting it professionally edited and planning for self-publication. In the meantime, I am working on another project. The working title is The Nitty Gritty Group. It's about a knitting group, and it is set in a magical world where there are 4 types of beings: humans, sorcerers, niminoths, and shifters. And there are different types of magic that each of the types of beings finds easiest to use, with the exception of humans who don't use magic at all. That's what makes them human. That's what I'm going to be working on during these write-ins. I hope to post 1 write-in per week. My initial thought was to do them daily, but while I am doing the writing portion of the 2-hour setup, it was a little exhausting to try to do the video and then edit the video and then get the video uploaded and all of that. And so I just severely underestimated how much work that all was going to take. So I have adjusted my expectations, and I'm now looking at a weekly write-in. I'm not entirely sure what day of the week I want to do it on. The first video was posted on Monday, March 15th, but I am leaning towards Wednesday now that I'm going to do just a weekly one. I think, a midweek writing session can help us get through hump day, basically. In addition, I have a blog, Minutes Not Seconds. There's a link in the description below. On the blog, I post shorter works of fiction, and as well as some behind-the-scenes looks into the writer's mind, this writer's mind specifically. And so that's pretty interesting if you're interested in that sort of thing. My novella, Composed, is available in its entirety on my blog, and I have begun posting the audiobook version of that novella to this channel. The first episode was posted on Tuesday, March 16th, and those will be posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays of each week. But that's not what we're here for today. Today, we are here to just write for a couple of hours. The way this is going to work is for 20-minute sessions. There will be music and ambient sound for you to write or study or read or whatever it is that you need to get done in a focused 20 minutes. And then following each 20-minute writing session, there will be a 10-minute chat session, during which time I will either answer questions which have been submitted in the comments of previous videos or submitted to me on Instagram. My account is @j.e.novotny, and that link is also below in the description. If there are no questions, then I'm just gonna kind of talk about what I'm working on and my writing, or really just whatever pops into my head. So I would appreciate some direction from comments. So the background music that we are listening to today, if you joined me for the first write-in, you might recognize it. It is the album Prisma by Andy G. Cohen, which is available on Free Music Archives, which I told was so completely wrong about the URL on the last video when I mentioned it. It's freemusicarchives.org. And the attribution for that is below, and I'll go ahead and link to the actual website as well, if anyone's interested. Yeah, and then during the 10-minute breaks, there will be music from Ian Grimm. So, if this 2-hour ride-in sounds like fun, or at least sounds productive, then let's dive right in. I'm just gonna sit here and chat for a while. If you need to go to the bathroom or grab a drink or just don't want to listen to me talk, you can go do that, mute me, let the video play, so you know when the attendance up, pause, whatever, anything goes. I'm not there to oversee. But I'm going to talk for the next 10 minutes or so about my writing and about writing in general, really. And then we will have another 20-minute writing session. So, hi. As I mentioned in the intro, I am a professional content writer. I write content primarily used by high school coaches and athletes, although the company that I work for is branching into like middle school and even trying to branch into some elementary school curriculum as well. So I write a lot about setting goals and overcoming obstacles and like learning from your mistakes, forgiving yourself for your mistakes, and just as well as being a good person, like having integrity, being honest, being a person of character, establishing what your personal values are. And the thing that I love about the program that I work with is that we're not pushing any particular creed onto people or onto these kids. We're encouraging them to think about what's most important to them, what's most important to their community, their family, what do they as individuals think about things like integrity and what does that mean to them. So yeah, my day job's pretty cool. I just get to write. I write curriculum content, I write newsletters, I write really whatever my boss needs me to write, I write. Hopefully we're gonna put together a book soon. So that's something that I'm looking forward to working on in the near future. And it's a really exciting time. Despite, COVID and some other circumstances caused some upset in the fall, but things look to be more on track. We're really hopeful. I'm really hopeful for the future, and I look forward to working with this company for a really long time. Yeah, so that's my professional writing, and I really won't talk about that anymore beyond that little bit, couple minutes. Just because this channel is not affiliated with the company. I am not a spokesperson for the company. But this channel is really just going to be for me, to express stuff about my writing and stuff. But I did want to give you a little bit of background on what I do, and when I say I'm a professional writer, what that means to me. So that's what it means. And as a amateur fiction writer, I am currently working on my second novel. My first novel is in its second draft form and is currently being read by betas. And then I'm going to do another round of edits, and if I feel that it's ready, I'll get a professional edit, and then we'll move forward with the self-publication process. So right now that's just kind of chilling, and I am working on my second novel, what I hope to be my second full-length novel. The working title for that is The Nitty Gritty Group, and I'm not really... I just don't know how much I should say, just because I've talked about it in the previous write-in and the writing vlog. But if you haven't watched those, the Nitty Gritty Group is essentially about a knitting group of 6 people who get together once a month to talk about how the testing is going of the knitting designs of one of the members. organizer of the group is a knitting designer, and so she's gotten these 5 other people together with her to help test out these knitting patterns. And so the book is going to have 8 patterns designed by me. I already have a few of those designs done. I just need to get around to formally writing them up so that I can get people testing them. I do have one done, actually. There's a shawl, which I'll throw up a picture of that, or a couple pictures, because I made 2 actually, and that is actually ready for testing. So if anybody sees this and is a knitter and you're like, hey, I need a shawl, then hit me up. Instagram DM is the best way to contact me at j.e.novotny, Novotny. And you can just hit me up there, say you're interested in test knitting the shawl pattern, and I will do my best to get back to you. I have finally turned on Instagram notifications on my phone, so I should get notified when you contact me. Yeah, so that's the main story, and so this started as a literary, contemporary, realistic fiction idea, but I find that not very exciting. So I have transplanted it into a magical world where there are 4 types of beings: humans, sorcerers, Niminoths, and shifters. And the first 2, I mean, are pretty odd. Humans are like people in our world. They don't possess magic or can't really use magic. Sorcerers have a lot of magic and can channel it through various means to do different jobs in society, and so they make up the bulk of the workforce. Like the educated workforce is mostly sorcerers, except for you also have Niminoths, who are, they're humanoid, but they have certain other features. For example, seer Niminoths, S-E-E-R, they have multiple eyes all over their body, including on the palms of their hands, but the eyes in their face are blind, and they can see into the past or the future or into people's minds, depending on their specific personal abilities. And then there are flying Niminoths who have wings. So they're humanoid, except for they have wings coming out of their back. They're like bat wings. Like gargoyle wings is kind of how I've been thinking of them. And then you have shifters who can turn into different shifters can turn into different animals to varying extents. Like some can only shift like an arm, some can only shift like they can grow a tail or retract it. Some can't control their shifting at all and are bound to the moon, while others can shift completely, total form, whenever they want. It really varies a lot. And so those are my 4 types of beings that exist in this world. And so the Nitty Gritty group is built of various, there's like 2 sorcerers, 1 human, 2 shifters, and a Niminoth of the make up the 6. And so it's a bit of a diverse group for the magical setting, and but they all come together to knit and talk, and like their personal lives also are heavily involved in the story. Like there's a character who, his wife has a drinking problem, and he is worried about, he doesn't feel safe leaving the kids alone with her. Her husband is developing symptoms of Alzheimer's, and so she's dealing with having to do things like hide his keys so he can't drive and get lost. So it's got some still like very relevant real situations. Oh. And that timer means the 10 minutes is up. So we will be back here in after another 20-minute writing session, and then we will, I don't know, I might keep talking about that story, but I might talk about something else. But anyway, I will see you back here in 20. are back from our second 20-minute writing session. Welcome to our second 10-minute chat session. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my book because that was fun. I hope that your 20 minutes were productive and that you are enjoying this write-in so far. If you are, please like the video and hit subscribe so that you will be able to, more easily see more. And let me know in the comments too, because right now I don't know what I'm doing and I have no frame of reference for if this is good or bad or whatever. So please just, let me know. But now I'm gonna talk about my novel, my second novel. So far all I've been really doing is diving in on the magical setting and some of the characters. I'll throw up some shots of the notebook that I'm using. I've really basically just gotten the notebook figured out. I kind of laid out how I want the details that I want for the setting and the characters, and then I'll move on to the plot and having like a timeline and all of this other stuff. And that way, when I start my draft in here about a week, is when I want to start drafting. Then I will have all of this stuff prepared and organized and, in a place where I can easily find it because there's an index and everything. So that's cool. That'll be really helpful for the drafting process. I did not really do anything like this on my first book. It was a lot more haphazard, and it also took a really long time to do the first draft. I finished the first draft in 2019, and I had started that in about 2015, I would say. So it took me a really, really long time to write that novel. And then the second draft took about 2 years. So, and I didn't do any of this prep work for the second draft either. I just kind of rolled with it. Which I don't really think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it taking a really long time to write a novel. Like, it's going to take you the amount of time it's going to take you. But I do know that there are some things I could have done that would have made the process easier, smoother, faster. And I want to try implementing those things now with this second novel from the get-go so that I am not floundering kind of like I did with the first one. The first is a daily writing habit. I plan to do an hour of working on this per day. That's, in addition to my normal work stuff. And I'm going to divide that up same way that I do these write-ins, where it'll be 20 minutes of writing, 10-minute break, 20-minute writing, 10-minute break. And that's how I'll divide the hour. So it's really 40 minutes of writing a day is what I'm aiming for. And that all of that writing is going, for the next week at least, if not 2, it just depends on where I'm at, is going to be focused on my setting and my characters and getting to know all of that really well and figuring out where the logical conflict points are, to help with the plotting, because I want to get the plot really not tight. Like I want to have a general sense. I am very much a discovery writer as well, so I don't want to bog myself down with too much detail, but I do want to have a solid understanding of the world and the characters and the basic, possibly most intense conflict points in the story. And so once I have all of that, then I will start my first draft. And I think this plan will help me to finish the draft much sooner than I did my second one. did my first one. So I don't know. Or the second draft of my first one. And I've still got about 5 more minutes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the setting as I have so far established it. So the entire book is set in the city of Croftland, which is in a small mountainous country known as Idluna. Eidluna. And Croftland is pretty isolated. It's in the northern part of the country, and although the whole country is pretty mountainous, it's in a very mountain surrounded, like the city is surrounded by mountains. It's in a valley surrounded by these like 5 peaks, and there's only a couple of passes to get to it. So it's fairly isolated, but it's grown to a city of about 30,000 people. Like it's a decently sized city. And so these 6, like it has its own university. It's got a good public school system. It's got lots of agricultural stuff going on in the forests throughout the valley that are like, as far as the mountains allow. So it's a pretty self-sufficient place as well. They get a lot of their building materials locally as well. There's a stone quarry and there's some logging operations. So yeah, it's pretty self-sufficient, but they do have contact with the outside world as well. It's not like all of the characters who are in the story like were born and raised and are gonna die in this same city. Some of them are like that, but not all of them. And that's kind of the geography. The weather pattern, it's a bit like the northern US. Like I really have the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York in my head as I'm thinking about this setting, even though it's like an alternate Earth, kind of like it's not super specified what, where, or when this place is, but it's kind of like a modern time alternate Earth with magic and other types of beings. So it's a lot of fun, actually. I am having a lot of fun figuring out this setting, and that's something that I wasn't enjoying much before making it a magical world. I was just feeling really pulled down by the whole realism angle, and I think adding just that dash of magic to it it's going to make it a more interesting project for me as well as a more interesting read for others. So that's good. It's good. That was cheesy. 2 more minutes. It's a lot easier to talk when I'm just talking to myself rather than when I'm talking to a camera lens. I don't know why, but there's something about that little red blinking record thing that just stops the words. Like I'm so used to holding back my thoughts and double thinking everything that I say and just watching my words, basically, that a lot of times I come off as not very talkative. People think of me as quiet. I've always been considered to be a quiet or reserved person. And it's just because so much of my life I've been censured for the things that I say and my thoughts, and I don't always speak as clearly as I write. My thoughts form themselves better on the page, it seems. So this is different for me. This is definitely stepping out of my comfort zone and just trying something new. And so I really hope that you're enjoying it and that you're getting something out of it, because I mean, I don't want to be the only one who gets something out of this, but I mean, even if it is just me, I guess it'll be worth it. So it is time, and we're gonna dive into our next 20-minute writing session. back from our 20-minute write-in. Now we have 10 minutes where we're just gonna chat a little bit again, and then we'll have one final 20-minute writing session, and then I will come back for about 5 minutes or so just to wrap things up, and that'll be it for this 2-hour write-in. So I hope that the previous 3 20-minute sessions have been helpful to you, and that anything you're needing to get done, you are knocking it out of the park. I am going to be, in this last 20-minute writing session, I'm going to be planning out sort of the layout of one of my scene locations. A lot of the book is going to take place in the bookstore where probably I would call her my main character, Ginger, works. She works part-time at a bookstore in this like trendy part of the city just north of downtown, and like there's lots of boutiques and cute little restaurants and very unique things, and so she works at this bookstore that heavily serves the magic community, particularly constructionists like Ginger. Constructionists are magic users who build things, could be as small as a ring to as big as a building, and they infuse magic into certain parts of the building process, and it enchants the items in different ways. So my main character, Ginger, specifically is a knitting constructionist. She uses yarn, and like usually that's already been enchanted in some way by a spinner or dyer or both. And she takes the yarn and then she knits and imbues her own magic into the items that she knits, and so that further enchants them. And so that's what she wants to do as a career, is using her constructionist abilities that she went to school for to be a designer, and because she doesn't just want to be like a factory worker essentially, because they have those where people just like knit or whatever, like the things that have to be done by hand, they do them for mass in as close to mass production as they can get while still doing it by hand. So yeah, I've been focusing on the writing, on free writing about what the bookstore interior looks like, what the exterior looks like, all of that. And now in this last 20-minute writing session, I am going to work on drawing up plans for the layout of the store, so I can just kind of have that to refer to, so I'm not moving things around too much. And this won't be like a set in stone kind of thing. It'll just be like sort of a reference guide for me for kind of what the place looks like, because a lot of the story takes place in this bookstore, because that's where the knitting group meets up. That's where Ginger, one of the 6 main characters, works. And I would argue she might be the main character. Like if I had to narrow it down to just one, she would probably be the central character as far as my current plans go. And I mean, that makes sense since she is the one who starts the group. She's the one who designs all the things that they knit. So yeah, I think working on the bookstore is going to be very useful. I have some other scene locations, like I have my notebook here. I have some other, oh, that's where I was gonna draw the maps. Oh. So I have so Ginger's apartment is another important location. And there's 2 coffee shops that are going to be fairly important. One is more modern, one is more old school, and then the final setting location that, as far as my plans right now, the only other setting location is a local yarn store that's kind of near the bookstore, and that's a place where the characters are going to meet up pretty frequently as well. So those 5 places I really want to get a good idea of, because a lot of the book's going to take place in those locations. So I have this handy dandy, just college ruled, spiral bound, lined paper notebook. And it's got some things in it. I'll put up some pictures. I think I might have talked about it a little bit earlier. I might have put up pictures then too. But yeah, so I want to talk about, I've got sections here for the geography, climate, culture, scene locations, politics, and then room for some sample descriptive passages that are things that I might be able to use in my writing. And then I'm gonna leave about 20 pages for notes while I'm doing the first draft. And that'll just be, you know, as I add scene details, I'll just kind of bullet point those in the blank pages, so that I've got it all in one spot and I can refer back to it easily. I have tried doing this with a computer program before, because you think, oh yeah, you can just switch back and forth between the two really easily. I'm not gonna do that. It's so much easier for me to turn from my computer and pick up a pen to write it down. It is. But that's just me. And so I have that, and then I have my character section, where I have my primary character sheets, secondary character sheets. I'm going to do some character interviews and write some voice samples for the characters. Okay, this won't be in first person. I don't really write in first person. I don't like reading in first person for the most part either. It's very disconcerting for me. I don't know why. It's not my thing. None of my favorite books are in first person. Very few books that I enjoyed are in first person. So I write in third person because that's what's comfortable to me. That's what sounds best to my ear and to my eye. But I still want to write some voice samples from the first person viewpoint for each of my characters, so I have an idea of how they will speak in the dialogue. And then I also left space in that one for draft notes about the characters, like any physical details that I end up coming up with as I'm drafting that wasn't in the initial descriptor that I've made up. You know, stuff about their background that comes up through writing, just any kind of details like that. And then the last section is going to be on the plot, which I have, as I think I mentioned earlier, I haven't actually started on yet, gotten around to it yet. I don't even know what the actual main story for this is going to be about yet entirely. Like, I have a few points of conflict and like points of interest, but I don't know actually story-wise how it's gonna go yet. So that's something I will be exploring in the next few days. So I am going to start writing or working out that plan for the bookstore, and then I will see you back here in 20 minutes for a final little goodbye sort of thing. Thank you for joining me. If you don't stick around for that, thank you so much for sticking it out this long, and I hope that you will like, comment, subscribe, all those good things for me to kind of help me out, help me get this out there for other people. So yeah, see you in 20.